Okay, hey guys. Now in this tutorial of our sort of like fashion illustration long course that we're doing, we're now going to be looking at how to actually create some hair to go with our faces. So first of all, I showed you how to, let's say, copy a photo on from Google, obviously put it into our artboard, trace off the lines to create the line art, which is all the lines in the eyebrows and the nose and the eyes. We then added color to the face, and then we looked at makeup, and now we're going to start looking at creating hair pieces for these for these illustrations. And then next we'll look at how to create a body for them to go onto. And the concept is all about creating libraries that you can simply swap and change between. So for example, let me just move these faces apart slightly. This is a hairpiece that I created for this face shape. And no matter what, so basically this face is exactly the same to this face and to this face. We've just used different makeup techniques and obviously changed the skin color to create different looks and different styles. For example, we have this hairpiece, which is slightly more, what would you call it? Slightly more cartoony, but you can see how it looks very different. So that's the kind of concept that we're kind of like working on, is creating libraries. Unfortunately, this girl doesn't have any ears. So once again, it's a library. I'm going to copy the ears. I'm going to paste them in. So basically these ears were created because I found a girl online where her ear was exposed, and obviously just trace that off, and now I can just simply drop it onto my illustration and resize it to get it the right shape, height, width, etc., and then just add it, which is really helpful. And obviously we can change the skin color just by going to my small selection tool, clicking, and then eyedropper tool, and then just picking up that skin color. Okay, so really easy ways to create beautiful illustrations by using the concept of libraries of assets. So I'm going to show you how I pretty much created this hairpiece. Really, really simple. Well, it's simple, but it takes a long time. It depends on how much work you want to put into it. So I'm just going to first of all copy my ears. Let's just paste these in because we need some ears. There we go. Yeah, we all need ears. Once again, let's just get that skin color. So I'm going to get my small selection tool up here, the white one. Click on that ear, hold down the shift key to click on the other ear, go to my eyedropper tool, pick up that skin tone, and now we can start to draft this interesting sort of like choppy headpiece, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's fine. Okay, so first of all, what you want to do is you want to make sure that nothing is movable or editable, because you're going to be drawing a lot on this face. So I'm going to get my big selection tool, which is the black one over here. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to go Object and then Lock Selection. So now I can't do anything to this, which is great. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to map out the basic concept of my headpiece or my hair. So first of all, I'm going to say roughly, well, the hair's I'm going to start about here. I'm going to take it out to about here. I'm going to bring it round to about here. I'm going to trace that line. Hang on, first of all, let me get a line color. So at the moment we've got a fill. Let's just remove that. Let's go to a line color. Let's make it black. Click OK. Let's also go to the stroke, and let's take it up a notch to 2 points. I'm then going to get my pen tool. I'm going to click a point here. I'm also going to click a point roughly about here, and then there, and then click and drag, hold down the shift key to lock it to the horizontal, and move it to there. So that's the basic outline or concept of my hairpiece, which is great. So next I'm going to get my convert anchor point tool. I'm just going to add a little bit of, let's say, curvature or shaping to this. I might want to move that point up. To do that, we get a small selection tool, click on that point, and you can move it around with the arrow keys on your keyboard. And also this point is looking a little bit sharp, so convert anchor point tool, just click and drag that out, and that's my piece. Okay, so also we have a fringe. So I'm going to get my pen tool, and I'm going to have it a bit asymmetric here. So I'm going to click about this point, so close to the face. I'm going to have it covering one eyebrow, but possibly not the other one. And I'm going to click it to about there. So that's my fringe. You can raise this and lower this, small selection tool. You can click and raise it up if you want a higher fringe. You can have it lower, have it really low if you want. It's up to you. We're going to take it to about there, I think. Yeah, it's a good concept. And then we're going to add in, let's say, the actual fringe outline. So I'm going to get my pen tool. I'm going to click on this point. I'm going to take it up to about there. Click and drag to add a little bit of curvature to that. Do the same for the opposite side. So just click off. Get your pen tool, click, and let's go to roughly about the same point, click and drag. Okay, so that's my fringe. So I'm just mapping out the outline. I'm also going to get my, big selection tool. I'm going to click on this piece. I'm going to right click and go transform, reflect, and hit copy along the horizontal axis, or vertical axis. And then I'm just going to move it over. I'm going to get my small selection tool, click and drag over these 2 points, right click, oops, right click, join, down the bottom here, right click, join. Great, so that is essentially my hairpiece, which is looking great. Next, I want to add a neckline to this because I don't want my hair to go all the way around. She's not going to have a floating head, so I'm just going to pick a point about here and then take it straight down. I'm going to curve it ever so slightly. That's looking good. I'm going to get my big selection tool. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to right click, transform, reflect, hit copy, move it across. And that's my neck. And you can always reshape this if you feel it's not quite the right shape. Do the same to the opposite side perhaps, but I'm pretty happy with that. I'm also going to get my small selection tool, click on this line, find that point, hold down the shift key, click on this line, find that point. So now these 2 points selected. I'm going to right click and hit join. And then I'm going to get my eyedropper tool, and I'm just going to get the skin tone. Actually no, before I do that, because we always work in layers, we have our line art layer, which is this one. We also want a color layer. So I'm going to simply get my big selection tool, I'm going to click on this, and then edit, copy, edit, paste, move that into position. I'm then going to remove the line color. I'm then going to get my eyedropper tool, select the color of my skin, and then I'm just going to go to Object, Arrange, Center Back. And I'm also going to do that for the line art layer as well. So select the line art layer, Object, Arrange, Center Back. Sorry, I've done that the wrong way around. So my color layer is on top. I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Center Back. I'm then going to get my big selection tool, select both of those layers, and I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Center Back. So the idea is that I have my color layer on the bottom, then I have my line art layer, and then obviously the face is on top of that, so we don't see that line that goes across her face. So now I know that this is the area I need to fill when it comes to all of these lines and choppy bits and pieces, which is great. Also, this face is kind of like putting me off, so what I might do is I'm going to get, oops, hang on. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this panel piece here, or sorry, this my fringe, and I'm going to go to my line fill, and I'm just going to go to white. And because it's not sitting on top of my image, there we go, we have that little white area, which is great. You know what, I can now just say, well, actually, I want that to come a little bit lower down, you know, maybe a bit higher up. It's completely up to you how you do this. You can move these points out. Small selection tool, click on that point, move it out. So now I'm going to start work on my fringe first of all. So what I'm going to do is get my pen tool, and this is where I'm going to use some shortcuts because this is going to be time consuming if you don't use shortcuts. So my pen tool is this one here, and this basically draws lines, as we know from existing tutorials. And then we have our selection tool, small selection tool, which is actually A on my keyboard, and P is my pen tool on my keyboard, and A is my just selection tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go P to get my pen, and I'm just going to simply click a point, click and drag, and I'm going to go slightly longer than the fringe. I'm going to do a little point next to it, click and drag, hit A, and then P, click and drag, and then A to get off it, and then P to make a new line. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if I now were to draw another line here, see, it's going to go up there. So if I hit A, it finishes that line. And let's do one here, A, P, let's do another one here, A, P. I'm also curving these ever so slightly just to give the impression that there is a haircut. I'm also making them slightly longer than my fringe, just because it feels like they're strands of hair. It's very stylized, but it seems to work. Also, another thing to mention, the reason that this looks so nice is because we're using lots of different line widths. So we have thick ones and thin ones, and it gives the impression of, let's say, depth. I mean, that's my concept. Possibly you have another idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to get my small selection tool. I'm going to click on some of these lines randomly, like that. So I'm going to click on a line, hold down the shift key to queue up that selection, and I'm just going to go to my line width and just go 1. And see, now it's already starting to look a little bit more like a stylized fringe. So once again, just going to click my points here, just click and drag, hit the A, P, and I'm doing lots of different sort of like line lengths. I'm curving them ever so slightly. You know, I could start over here as well. Let's do quite a big long one. You could do a short one here, maybe curve it in slightly. It's just stylizing, basically. It's up to you how you do it, but play around with it. Do a little one here, perhaps. You can also move it over. Maybe break that line up, have it coming to about there. So as I said, this takes time. This takes a long time, but once you've kind of got these haircuts in your bank, you can then obviously start putting these together really easily and really quickly. So I'm just going to probably speed up this process until we get to the next step. One thing to mention as well, so essentially the fringe is going to be straight lines at the bottom, but at the top here you almost kind of want to curve it because it's kind of coming from the scalp, if that makes sense. So this is another concept of the whole like kind of styling. And let's just put a few more lines in. The more detail you add, the more lines, probably the better it's going to look. You don't want to have huge amounts of space. Actually, you know what? I've just found an even quicker shortcut. So instead of going P to then draw your line like that, and then going A to click off, just hit P again, and it will automatically do it for you. So just click P, draw your line, click P on your keyboard again, and it will start a new line for you, which is really helpful. Let's do a few more at the top. I'm doing this quite quickly, but you can take a bit more time over it, really think about where these lines are going to be going. But yeah, when you're done, essentially what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start just picking out lines that randomly that I'm going to make smaller or make the line width slightly less, just to create that like kind of choppy kind of concept. So just lots of random lines. There we go. Let's go to our stroke, and then 1. It's not too bad. There's a few here that could probably do with going a little smaller as well. Yeah, okay. It's all right. It's not amazing. I've done better fringes, but that's okay for now. I'm happy. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to start working into... God, it's a bit zebra, isn't it? Okay, so look, I can see with this one what I've done. So I've done less around the top here. In fact, there's a whole bunch of less lines in total. So what I'll do is I'm going to have a small selection tool. I can just start to remove some of these lines because it is quite a lot going on here. And just remove the ones that don't necessarily make much sense. Also the ones at the top here. I'm just basically looking at this illustration because I spent a bit of time on this illustration. Let's do that. Okay, we can move that one in perhaps. There we go. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. I can also maybe slice this line up. There we go. Let's get rid of that one and that one. Maybe have one coming here. So you can spend as much time on this as you like. I'm not going to spend too much time. Okay, so now we have our fringe. We're going to start looking at how we actually create the bottom part of this. So as you can see here, I've almost got these swooping lines that come out that cover up the ears, and I quite like that concept. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to once again go I'm going to go select all, and then go object, and then lock. Object, lock, selection. That means that none of these are in the way either now. And now I'm just simply going to take a line from this point, and I'm going to do like a swooping curve out from here, which is looking good. I'm going to do kind of like the same on the opposite side. Let's maybe make this one. There we go. So that's where I know I need to cut my ears off, which is great. So let's actually do that now. I'm going to cut those ears off. So I'm going to go to object and then unlock all. So I can now access my ears here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to get my scissor tool, which is just here. And I'm going to snip. Let's zoom in even more. The closer you get in, the more detail you can work with. I'm just going to snip there and there. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oops. Let's zoom right in. There's a little piece here that I'm missing. I want that piece and that piece. And let's just turn that into line art. I'm just going to go... I'm going to click on that point there, small selection tool, I'm going to select that line, click on that point, right click, join. That's looking good. Can move that point in a little bit. I can get rid of this piece as well, so small selection tool, just click on that piece, hit backspace a few times. In fact, I've lost a little bit there. I want to snip it just there. Get rid of that. And then here, I'm going to select that ear. I'm going to make it the same width as my face, or the line face, the face line. I'm just going to get my eyedropper tool. I'm just going to click. There we go. And I need my color layer as well, because at the moment I got rid of that. At the moment I just have the line art layer. So I'm just going to get my small selection tool. I'm going to hold down the shift key and the option key. That just selects that item. And then go edit, copy, edit, paste. There we go. I'm going to move it back into position. Oh, we can nudge it around with our keys a little bit, but there we go. Let's put it back into position. There we go. And then I'm just going to get my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select the color. And then I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Send Back. Okay, there we go. So that's one ear cut off. Bit of a long process, but it's not too fun. I can probably do it better this time. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to small selection tool. I'm going to click on the color layer, just get rid of it completely. We don't need it. I'm going to get the line art layer, so small selection tool. Click on the line art layer. Get my scissor tool. I'm going to snip here. And that's pretty much all I'm going to snip because this whole upper ear is gone. So I'm just going to get my small selection tool, select that bit, delete, delete. And then here, I'm going to get my pen tool. So I'm going to select that line. Let's zoom in. Get my pen tool. I'm going to click. I'm going to click to here and also click down to here. There we go. And these aren't joined, so I'm going to get my small selection tool, click on this line, click on that point, click on this line, find that point, right click, join. There we go. Oops. That's my earpiece. And then I'm just going to get my small selection tool, hold down the Shift and Option key, click it, and then I'm going to go to Control C, Control V to copy and paste it in, move that over, get my eyedropper tool, select the skin layer, and I'm going to send it to back. There we go. Okay, so that was a little bit time consuming, but we've now got our haircut is looking a bit more appropriate now. Okay, so next I'm going to start doing these lines, but actually on this piece here, for example. But you know what? I might do one side and then actually just, sorry, I might draw one side but then copy and paste it to the other side to save time. So let's just do some lines. I'm going to do some like quite nice wavy concepts here. Let's get a line art. There we go. Take that. I'm also going to extend that out. There's a little bit more length of hair here, so I'm going to kind of create more of a fluid flowing effect. There we go, looking lovely. It's all about kind of like having lines that almost intersect. So for example, if you had a line like this, it's prettier to simply cut that piece out, move it ever so slightly off to the one side, and then lengthen that line. That's kind of the concept we're going with when it comes to this. So for example, let's just move that in. Let's move that in. And then so here we would cut that line. So it's almost like that. So it's like, you see how we have that fluidity? So it's like line, overtake, and then line, or line, parallel line, whatever. Let's do a few more of these. I'm doing this really quickly, but you can take your time and make it look really pretty. Maybe have almost like a little insert there. It's all about just being a bit more dynamic and creative when it comes to the style. I'm saying that a lot. I'm going a little bit mad while doing this. It is really good fun if you've got a rainy day just to like crack on with these and have some fun, but it is time consuming. But it is very enjoyable when you finish. When you finish it, yeah. Right, okay, so let's just keep going. Looking good. I'm going to take this line out. Let's do something like that. Let's take that line. Let's overtake it almost to there. So almost like there's a twist in that hair piece, or in that piece of hair. And once again, I haven't actually added the different line widths here yet. I'm just kind of drawing. Okay, and then let's do some bits out here. I'm almost finished this side. So once again, we're using that shortcut, so we're just going, so we click the pen tool, and then we draw our little curved line, and then hit P once again to stop that existing line. Click and draw, P, click and draw, P, let's put one in here perhaps, and then here. There we go. Okay, I'm relatively happy with all that. That's fine. Okay, looking good. It's looking a bit more dynamic. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to go in. I'm going to select a few of these lines, and I'm going to make them slightly thinner. There we go. By doing that, all I'm doing is simply getting the small selection tool. I'm clicking, holding down the Shift key to then queue up my selections. By queue up, I mean select multiple lines. And there we go. That is our line. Let's just simply do that. There we go. Great. So what I can do, if I'm really, really cheeky, because we mirrored this, what I could do is, if I get my small selection tool, select the outline here, lock it, object, and then lock. Oops, object. Object, Lock, Selection. I could then essentially just get my big selection tool, click and drag over all of this. You see I've selected all those lines now, and any ones that I'm missing, such as this one here, I can just hold down the Shift key, click, click, just to queue up and just to grab those bits of hair. I don't want this one because this is my main piece. Otherwise I don't want that one because it's my main piece, because I've already got it on this side. And all I do is with all these selected, I just go right click, transform, reflect, and then hit copy. And there is all of our hair. And I can just either click and drag and move it over to the opposite side. We can kind of put it in roughly the right place. And there you go, look, far easier. And I can then just start to change these lines ever so slightly if we need to, maybe remove that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Next, let's just add some more bits here because we're looking a little bit sparse over there. Okay, I think we're good. So that's the concept of the hair. It's looking quite dramatic. I think this one's probably better, but then who knows. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to start to shape this, the fringe. It's looking very sharp at the moment and it doesn't really correlate with these little lines that are pointing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go select all, everything. Sorry, excuse me. Select everything, but with my small selection tool, with my big selection tool, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to click on the fringe. And what that does is that removes that from the selection. So now I've selected everything but that fringe line. I'm going to go Object and then Lock, Selection. So now nothing's selectable apart from my fringe, which is really handy. Okay, this is my fringe. I'm going to make it slightly darker, thicker. Also, you know what? I'm going to change the color. Let's make it pink because then you can see it a little bit clearer. There you go, you can probably see that a bit clearer now. Okay, so this is my fringe, and now I want to make it a little bit more choppy. So just like this one, you see how we're just making it a bit more choppy, it makes it a bit more realistic. So what I'm going to do is get my small selection tool, I'm going to select my fringe, it's the only thing I can select right now. I'm going to get my add anchor point tool, just up here in the top left. I'm just going to add a whole bunch of points to this, like literally go along that line, clicking, 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 adding lots of anchor points, just like that, dun dun dun, etc. There we go. Then going to get my small selection tool, I'm going to click on that point and drag it out, and I'm just going to drag these around to make that kind of like almost choppy effect. Not for all of them, but just for some of them. You can go up, down, in, left, right, whatever you want. And that just gives a bit more, makes it a bit more dynamic. There you go. Looking good. Just move those points around. Don't have to use every single point, but it just, gives you a bit more control. Okay, so that's my fringe looking nice and choppy. Essentially, I could do this to the bottom part of my, what do you call it, my actual, the finished length of the hair if I want to, but I'm not going to do that because it's really time consuming. So first of all, Object, Unlock All. You can do that if you want to. Right, let's have a look. So over here, we've got a few lines that are intersecting my main piece here. So let's just simply select that, go to the scissor tool, and let's just snip that out. Let's just remove that because I don't want anything to get in the way of my fringe. I quite like the fact that it sticks out from all the other hair piece, or all the other bits of hair. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now we're pretty much finished, but at the moment, if I were to colour this hair, just simply by dropping a colour into it, that's what's going to happen. And even if I sent it to the back, we've got lots of issues here. So what I need to do is essentially create a colour mask for my hairpiece. So what I need to do is really, my hair goes from here, it goes up the side of the neck, around the face, up the ear, through here, across the fringe, down, etc., all the way around. So I need to kind of trace that, or at least pull that out. And to do that, it's really simple. I'm just going to get my small selection tool. I'm going to hold down the Shift and Option key, or Shift and Alt key on my keyboard. I've done that quite a lot, and the reason why is because when you use the small selection tool and you click and drag, you see how it's just changing that one element. If I hold down the Shift Option or Shift Alt key and click, I'm taking the whole piece. But it's taking just that one element. The big selection tool takes everything, you see. And the small selection tool, when I just click and drag, or when I click and select, it only selects one part of it. But if I hold down the Shift and Option or Shift and Alt key, if I click it, it selects just that one piece, even though it's in a group, and it allows me to move it. I hope that makes sense. So that's going to be really important here. So I'm going to hold down the Shift and Option or Shift and Alt key. I'm going to click on the outline of my hairline. I'm also going to click my fringe. I'm going to get this line here. I'm going to get my ear. I'm going to get my neckline and my jawline, this ear, this piece, and that should be pretty much, that should be everything I need to create that mask, let's say. So I'm just going to then go copy, so Control C on my keyboard and Control V. There we go, so that's almost like the outline of my shape here. And now I need to basically connect them all up so that I just have just the area that's going to be coloured for the hair. And we do that simply just by going to my small selection tool. I'm going to click here. I'm going to delete at that point, sorry, cut at that point, cut that point, remove the chin. Here I'm going to cut and cut, delete. I'm then going to click and drag my small selection tool over those 2 points, right click join, right click join. Down here I'm going to snip. So to snip is C on your keyboard, so shortcuts really help. So the A is the selection tool. C will bring up the cut tool. So you cut, then you press A, select the line, delete it. You can right click join, right click join. Here let's zoom in, so A to select the line, C to bring up the snip tool, cut here as well, hit A, select the line, kill it. Then let's get the small selection tool, click and drag over those 2 points, right click join. This as well, let's snip it here, snip it there, remove that. We've got a line or 2 going on here. Okay, that's fine. Let's start on this side, so let's just go snip. Let's snip there. Let's remove that. Let's remove that line as well. And then here, this line, I'm going to snip it. Join those. So I'm snipping and joining as I go to create this outline. I can also snip, just zoom in, snip there, remove that piece. We can move this down a bit. Just going to join. So you see how we're slowly creating this outline for the hair. I'm then going to snip this point. Once again, time consuming, but once you've got all these, it's going to be so beneficial in the long run. Let's just join that. Not sure what's going on here, it's a bit of a weird one, so let's just get that line from underneath, delete that, there we go, and then we can just join that point to that point, join. Okay, so that is the outline for my hair. Just to make sure it is one complete piece, I'm going to get my big selection tool, I'm going to select it, I'm going to go to my Pathfinder tool, and just go unite. Nothing actually looks like it's happening, but what it does is, essentially, this is what Pathfinder does. If I snip this line here and here, if there's an open area, I just select the whole thing, hit unite, and it will make sure it's joined. Okay, let's just do that again. Alright, so now this is my color layer. So I'm just going to simply click and drag this back to its original position. I'm then going to go Object, Align, Arrange, Center Back, and then let's fill it and see what we've got. So I'm going to get my eyedropper tool, I'm just going to click and fill it. Okay, looking awful, but that's fine because I'll show you what we need to do next. So what we do next is I need to make sure my face is one item, which it is because I haven't ungrouped it, which is great. So I'm just going to click on, I'm going to get my big selection tool, I'm going to click on the face, I'm going to click on the neck, I'm just going to drag that off. Oh, hang on, let's get the ears as well. So big selection tool, hold down the shift key, click the ears, and then let's just drag that over to this side. And we forgot the color layer for the ear, but that's alright, we can drag that over. And then let's just get all of this and hit group. And we haven't got that bit either. It's really good to group things as you go. There we go, group. So I'm just separating my hair off the face so I can focus on the hair. Oh, and also look, we haven't got our neckline either. There we go, that's better. Okay, so this is our hair. We can get rid of our existing outline that we traced originally. Just get rid of that. This is our color layer for the hair. Let's just simply get the big selection tool, click on this hair piece, go edit, copy, edit, paste. This is going to be our line art, which is going to lie on the very, very top of it. Let's just make that line black, and let's make that 2 points. There we go. We can also remove the fill from this, from this fringe. So small selection tool, click on the fringe, remove the fill, and that's pretty much it. The only issue right now is the fact that these lines have a fill. So once I remove the fill on those, this wig or this hairpiece is going to look fabulous. So let's go to our small selection tool. I'm going to select these lines, just click, 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 just like that. Oops, not the hairpiece. And then just go to the fill and remove the fill. And there we have it. It's starting to now look far better. Okay, getting there. I probably should have checked that these lines didn't have fill when I first drew them, but we were in a bit of a rush at that point. This could be quicker, so what I could do is just select the outline of the color layer, go Object, and then Lock Selection, and then just get my small selection tool, click over all of this, and then just remove the fill. Remove the fill. Let's just do that. There we go. So that's my headpiece, or my wig. I'm just going to basically just unlock it, so Object, and then Unlock All. Get my big selection tool, click and drag over this hairpiece, and then go Object and then Group. We need to make sure that this is one piece, otherwise all those lines are going to be a nightmare if I move it around. This is also one piece as well, so we can now put her back where she was. Okay, that neckline's not loving me. Let's take that, move it into position. You'll get the hang of all of this eventually. It can be a little bit time consuming, but it's all about isolating layers. It's all about locking layers, grouping, and then unlocking and then joining. Okay, let's move that into position. So let's just make sure she's grouped. Let's just Command G to group it. Let's put this in here. There we go. And there is our fabulous looking lady with her new hairpiece. Her neck's a little bit too large, but that's fine. You can always reduce that. And the great thing is that that is going to work with any of these two girls, or these two faces, because it's the same face. It has the same face structure, as long as we put the ears in as well. So let's just take those ears. So to take the ears, I'm just going to get my small selection tool, hold down the Shift and Option key or Alt key, click these, click this, click that. Yeah, see, that's why it needs to be grouped really. It's a bit of a pain. I'm going to basically, big selection tool, click and drag that off here. I'm going to ungroup everything, and I'm just going to select the ears like that. I'm going to group it. I'm going to select these bits. I'm going to group them as well. Now, if I cut them off, let's just get rid of that. Paste. I now have my ears, and I can put them in wherever they need to go, probably about there. Let's send them to the back. Get my small selection tool, and let's change the color of those ears. So small selection tool, click on the skin color area, get your eyedropper tool, click. There we go. Looking good. And now, let's group her. Let's move that over. And voila, there you have it. We need a neck piece for her as well. Let's just move that over. Great, and we can do the same for this one as well. So let's grab the ears. Let's go back. Okay, copy. Let's go forward. Paste those ears, group them. Let's place them on our final lady. Let's change the skin color. It's a small selection tool, then go to the eyedropper tool. Okay, that'll do. Let's get our hair, drag that across. Put it into the right position, so I'm lining up the chin here. Oh, that one wasn't lined up. Let's line up the chin. We can then obviously move the ears down. Same with this one. Let's move those ears up ever so slightly. And there we have our three girls with the same haircut, so it applies. And we can also just change the hair color, so I can go to get my small selection tool, click on the hair color and then just go to this yellow color, for example. You can make it any color you want. Let's make it pink, for example. Okay, you can't use the multiply on this because you're going to see the scalps. Let's go to normal, and let's also take the opacity up to 100. Wow, that is a very bright color. Let's take it down a bit. Let's make it candy floss. Okay, so that's the concept. And once again, once you've got these three faces, you can then basically copy and paste them. Oops. And you can change them even more, so you can then start to work into, let's say, the makeup, eye color, the lip color, do whatever you want to do to change the look of these people. Okay, so that's quite a long tutorial. That's all about hair. Let me show you some other bits as well. So basically, there's some other piece that I created. I'm not sure if I showed you this at the start of the tutorial because it's a very long tutorial. But essentially, once you have created all of these hair pieces, you can then just simply chop and change and put them on wherever you want to put them. See? Just remove, oops. Let's place it up here. It's not grouped. You've got to make sure you group things. There you go. Take the hair away. Add the other hair. Voila. And you can even change that color as well to be pink if you want. And this to be blue if you want. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. And this could be that kind of blacky grey. Okay, so really easy. Once you've got all the concepts or all of the bits and pieces, you can then start to create some really fun, interesting things. Oh wow, okay, there you go. Bit of a forehead haircut. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. Next we're going to start looking at how to create poses or the actual bodies for these heads to go onto. And then we'll start looking at how to basically start drawing clothes onto those models, actually start creating fashion illustrations. This is a seriously big course with a lot of information, and it is a lot to get through, but essentially it's a great resource. It should give you everything you need to know about this style of fashion illustration in Adobe Illustrator. And I've been talking for a long time, so thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Okay, I just want to tag this on the end very, very quickly. So this is the concept. So once we have created these hair pieces and these faces, obviously all very different, you can then start to chop and change. So for example, we could place this haircut on this girl here. And it is maybe just a case of literally just shrinking it down and moving it around. So let's say, okay, fine, let's make it ever so slightly smaller. We could then move it in. So that feels reasonably right. We could then take these ears. Move these into place where it kind of should be. So we're looking at about here, for example. And then it's simply just a case of redrafting or moving these points around. So with the small selection tool, just click on this point here, move it up. Same for this one. Let's click and move that in. Let's also take this down ever so slightly. Oops. Let's move this down and take this point in as well. So it's just a case of sort of like mapping that hairstyle to that face. So with this, just take this point, move it down. We can even get rid of that ear. Get rid of this piece as well. Just got to make sure that you actually close that ear piece up. Place the color layer in. So it becomes much quicker to kind of like produce these artworks. Let's take this ear, place it down, and there we go. So that's not too bad when it comes to you know, very quickly translating that hairpiece onto a different face, because this hairpiece was created for a completely different face. But it just shows you how you can just adapt it very, very quickly. And then obviously, once again, you can change the hair color. It can be brown, it can be blue, it can be whatever you want to do. So yeah, lots of versatility when it comes to this kind of illustration in Adobe Illustrator. So I hope you enjoy. So once again, so this one was originally for this haircut, or for this lady here. We could always apply this to this lady. It's just a case of maybe moving it around and tweaking it. So for example, maybe this needs to be higher up. Let's just move that out. Let's move this up. Okay, and then we have this bit here. Let's just move that up as well. Problem is you've got to do the color layer and the outline layer at the same time. Okay, so a very, very different look. We can also put this one on here. This one might not work as well because she's kind of looking upwards, but it might. We can always then just reduce it down a little bit. Let's move it into position. Yeah. So this one might be a little bit trickier. You can maybe elongate it perhaps. So simply just by clicking and dragging. So that one's a little bit trickier, but you could always do it. It just takes a little bit more time and effort. But for example, this one might not be too bad. Oops. So the more hair pieces you create, you can then apply them to lots of different faces. That's not amazing, dear me. But you know, you get the kind of concept of what you can actually do with it, which is great. Okay, that's it from this tutorial. As I said, once again, next we're going to be looking at how to basically draft bodies to put with these faces.